Well, everyone, as you can see, I've got Lothar. Eventually, I've now got him willing to do this podcast with us, or rather, this live session with us. I'm really, really delighted about that. Lothar and I go back a long way, but he's a pretty famous guy, and he's very controversial. This is one of his very early books. Look how thick it is. The guy knows how to write. This is another one that I've got a copy of, which him and Klaus wrote, and we had Klaus on just a couple of weeks ago. I think we're all probably looking forward to this, Lothar, but you're in Mallorca at the moment, I believe, enjoying the sunshine.
Yes, I do, yes. That's the only thing I can do, nearly.
I'm sure it's not. So Lothar, if you don't mind, I think everyone's probably very excited about this. Do you want to give us a wee bit of your background, your story? Then what we'll do is find out where you are with cancer at the moment, you're on. And then we can talk about COVID, because we got into this because of COVID. I started, this is now our 10th live session, which is amazing. And it's just been about supporting people through COVID, milestone members, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So do you want to just introduce yourself to the audience, Lothar? I'm sure.
Yeah, well, by normal profession, I'm president of Cancer 21, which the former name was People Against Cancer, the same organization like in America, Frank Weevil is running. And we also have a center for cancer patients close to Stuttgart.
Lothar, I'm going to stop you there. Lothar, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop you. There's something wrong with the quality of the input.
Okay.
Do you mind if I just check?
Yeah, please check it.
I've maybe got a lot of Wi-Fi on. I've not got Wi-Fi there. Not yet. I do have here. Hold on. I'll just turn this. Okay, that's off. Are you got a decent connection yourself? Yes.
Yes.
You were kind of stalling. I don't know why that is.
Okay. So from my side, everything is okay.
Yeah. Let me just check. Let me just check something here. Okay. You still there?
Yep.
Okay, let's begin again. Sorry about that. Okay.
Okay. No. Go on.
Okay, folks, as you can see, I've got Lothar now with us for this week's live session. I'm absolutely delighted about it because he's plays a big part in my life. I've always been inspired by him. He's Klaus's closest friend. He can sometimes be highly controversial if you can just about see the name on that. But big, thick book. The guy can write, a serious writer. Also a book he published with Klaus, another thick book, as you can see. An amazing guy with an amazing story. So Lothar, I believe you're in Mallorca right now, enjoying the sunshine?
Yes, Jack, I'm in Mallorca.
Fantastic, lucky you, we're all envious. Lothar, do you mind just giving an introduction to yourself, bit of your backstory, because it is an amazing story, and I know people are waiting to really enjoy this session.
Yes, well, by profession, I'm a nurse and studied 4 years of psychotherapy, and I was working in psychiatry and in psychotherapy hospital many years ago. And more than 22 years ago, I started with our organization called People Against Cancer. Now today it's Cancer 21. We changed the name a few years ago. And I'm also running together with Klaus Pörtl in Germany, the 3E Center, a center for mostly given up cancer patients. So my main job is traveling around the world and searching for cancer therapies. How do people treat cancer in Russia, in China, in Japan, in Mexico, and it doesn't matter in which country. So this is still my main thing I'm doing, yes. And for that, of course, or because of that, I have many contacts around the world, mainly to scientists, to different kinds of scientists, also to virologists. And this is why I think I can say something to the whole Corona crisis, yes.
Yes. And going back for a moment to the cancer journey, you were very lucky to have met Joanna Budvig. That must have been pretty amazing. Do you want to tell a wee bit about that? Because I know that inspires a lot of people when I introduce them to the 3E
Yes,
Centre and what you guys have been doing.
Well, the funny thing is, I was in America together with Frank Weevil, the president of People Against Cancer in America. And Frank mentioned the name Dr. Joanna Budvig. And then he said, do you know, she lives in the Black Forest? And I said to Frank, hey, I'm from the Black Forest. Where is she living? At the end, we found out she was only living 1 hour away from my place, from Stuttgart, in close to Freudenstadt, in the Black Forest. Yeah. So I met her first time together with Klaus Pördl. We went there. And the first day, it was not that we fall in love the first time, okay? but I have to say, then and after the third, fourth visit I made with her, we worked together for over 4 years, yes? So I was quite often with her, and she showed me all her cases, and she explained to me the whole oil protein diet, the Budvig protocol, all these things. But the most important thing for me personally was that I met a lot of her patients who did the oil protein diet, mainly patients where doctors sent them home for dying, so final stage people. And at the end, they became final stage survivors. And this was really what impressed me. And this is why I still, how can I say, I'm fighting for the oil protein diet, that it becomes a real cancer therapy all over the world.
Fantastic, fantastic. And her own story was fascinating because I suspect it's like what's going on with COVID at the moment. There are people attempting to find ways forward, but the mainstream doesn't necessarily find that easy to do. So she actually had to step outside. I mean, she was a very proud woman, was she not? She was very, very talented, she was a very intelligent, highly intelligent scientist, and yet she was ostracized. Do you want to tell us a wee bit about that wee story? Because it might be similar to what's going on with COVID in some ways.
Well, with COVID, I think I have to go back a little bit, in January, when I heard first time about the virus and China and all these things, I was just thinking, oh, it's something like we had before, okay? There's a virus and the government is saying, oh, very dangerous, and then they forget it. So they just for a few days in the news, and that's it. But it didn't stop. It didn't stop. No. So, but then I talked to some of my friends who are, let me say, more in virology and all these virus things. And they all said the same, we don't know. It doesn't matter who I asked. Everybody said to me, Lothar, we don't know. And why we don't know anything? Because there are no data. We don't know. Is it true what the people at that time, it was only in Wuhan in China, what they are saying and what they are telling in the news, we have no idea. So, and the second thing was, it was a big thing from one day to another, especially in Wuhan. And I was a bit surprised, because think about, Jack, how did the whole story started? The whole story started that the government in Beijing called the World Health Organization and told them, listening, we have 27 people, they have lung problems. Yeah. Check, in China are living, how many? 1.5 billion people? Yeah. So if there are 27 people in a city called Wuhan, yeah. Nobody knows this, even 10 million people in the middle of China. I know it because I was 20 times in my life in China. Yes. But I would say most people, they never heard from this city before. So think about, why is the Chinese government calling the World Health Organization and saying to them, hey, there are in a city in our country where 27 people are having some lung problems. This really surprised me. So anyway, a few other things surprised me, that the Chinese, they built a hospital in 10 days, that the Chinese made a complete shutdown, that the Chinese said, oh, this will kill millions if we don't make shutdowns and all these things. I was really surprised because this is not a normal thing, what they normally do. But anyway, so at the end, I saw when it came to Italy and then of course to Germany and to England and France and Spain and all the countries, I saw that what the governments are saying and that what my friends, the scientists are saying, are two different stories here. So this is why, together with Klaus and friends, we made an internet page called I beg to differ. We're just saying, hey, we have a different opinion here. We are not saying we are right. We are not saying they are right. We're just saying, hey, there are some voices, they saying some different things than that what in Germany, it's the so-called Robert Koch Institute. This is from the government, where all the scientists are. So the RKI in Germany, so they said, there's a very, very dangerous virus. But they didn't prove it. They just said it. But my scientists said, hey, and then a few other scientists, mainly from Germany, they went out, Professor Bhakti, Professor Hockert, Professor Püschel, a lot of professors, mainly in Germany, but also the most famous virologist is Professor Ioannidis in Stanford, America. Also, he said, after he was checking the data from the ship, the cruise ship Princess,
yes.
And he checked the data and said, no, he don't think that this is a very dangerous virus. And once more, Professor Ioannidis in America, he's the #1 virologist in the world. Then we had this problem that our #1 virologist, Professor Drosten from the Charité in Berlin, he is also the founder of this PCR test, who is everybody using now. So I was a bit surprised, that they were able to make a test in 4 days. In 4 days, they make this test, and they sold this test to the WHO and all these people around the world. Yeah. I said, this is strange, but I was still believing what they told us. So, yeah. But then I spoke to some of these other people, and I saw the videos from Professor Bhakti, Professor Hockert, and all these famous virologists, and they said all the same. We are not saying it's not dangerous. We just can't say it is dangerous because we have no data. And even Edward Snowden, many weeks ago, when he made an interview with this American journalist, Edward Snowden also said, we have 2 big problems. The first is we have no data. So how can we say that somebody is dangerous if we have no data? And the second thing is the politicians, they like to make a small crisis very big. Of course, he meant more the American presidents who like to make a war, but here is the same. And this is what I see now. And then we made this webpage, I beg to differ, and we just wanted to show other people listening. We don't know what's happening, but there are a lot of very intelligent professors, very famous professors. They are saying something totally different. So we showed to the people, but then we saw that a lot of the German government mainly, but also in Italy, in France, in Spain, and also in UK, that the governments every day on TV, they showed us, oh, if we don't make a shutdown, if we don't make this, if we don't make this, this is such a dangerous virus, it will kill you next day. And it will kill 100,000, even maybe million of people. Yes. Million of people. Yeah. And here comes something very interesting. I know what's the guy in England, Neil Ferguson. Yes. He was also the guy, who is consulting the UK government. And he said exactly the same. But when you ask these people, how do you come to all the data? How do you collect the data? Then you come always to the same story. There is no difference between people who are dying and they just made a PCR test and they are positive, and people, they just dying because of cancer, because of heart attacks, because of suicide, because of I don't know what, and they just made a test and they were positive. So what they did, all the data they did in one pool. But hey, come on, and this is still the big problem we have no data at all. But now, 4 weeks ago in Germany, a guy from a university in Hamburg, Professor Püschel, he's a pathologist. And he said, okay, let me check all the dead corona people. Yeah. So he opened 65 people and checked, how did they die? Did they die really on the lung problems and all these things? And from the 65 and 61, he found different reasons. Think about it. From 65 and 61, they had cancer, they had heart problems, they had kidney problems, they had, I don't know. But they're only in 4 people, he couldn't say. And there's another thing. They always say, they get these lung problems.
Yeah.
Most of the people, they don't have these lung problems. And today with the lung problems, we know something else. We know today that, you know, in the beginning, they took them in a coma and gave them oxygen. But today we know this was a big mistake. Don't misunderstand me, Jack. I'm not blaming the doctors, especially in Italy, who did this.
Yes.
They did it because they didn't know it better.
Yeah.
But today we know it, that a lot of people died on the therapy and not on a virus.
Wow.
Then comes another pathologist, Dr. Toussaint from the University in Basel in Switzerland. He did the same what Professor Püschel did. He did 20 official corona people who died on corona. He couldn't find one case where people were not dying on something else, on cancer, on kidney, liver, heart problems and all. He even couldn't find one case. And this is what a lot of scientists now saying to all the governments. Come on, you made a big mistake. From the beginning, you should have asked pathologists. Come on, in each CSI series on TV, they always ask the pathologists, right? But now, in the biggest crisis we have, they never ask the pathologist. This was, and not even that, in Germany, the Robert Koch Institute, they said the pathologists are not allowed to check it. They were not allowed. So they said, forbidden. No, we will not allow you, because otherwise you will spread the virus, or some stupid reasons, really. So at the end, today, where are we standing today? Today, I think we know now that this virus was just a normal virus. And not only that, this virus is not a new virus. This virus is for sure for many years around the world. You can see this, that if you make this PCR test now with animals, that animals are also positive. And not only the tigers in New York, in Germany they did it. And maybe you have seen this video from the president of Tanzania, published a few days ago. You know, they made this test with papayas, with durians, you know, these fruits. They made it with goats. They made it with different animals. And they were also positive. So how is this possible? This is not possible with let me say, a real test system. And we don't have a test. And another test they made in North Italy, or how we in Germany say in Südtirol. There was a group of people in St. Christoph, in St. Ulrich. Is a small, where people normally go for skiing. And, but it's a small village. And they tested 962 people in the last few days. And 400 something, exactly 49% of the people there in this village were positive. 49%, the test was positive. But the strange thing is, most of these 49%, they had no symptoms. They even didn't know that they had a flu or something, you know, just nothing. They had nothing. They were just positive. And positive means they in this village in St. Ulrich, they made even that nobody could say, you know, there's a problem with that. They gave the test to 2 different laboratories, so that nobody could say, you know, maybe one laboratory made a mistake. No, so they gave it to 2 laboratories with exactly the same 100% same result. So 49 people of this village were just positive. We have another professor, Professor Streeck. He is from the University in Bonn in Germany, and he tested more than 1,000 people in Germany. He had different results, but interesting was also that 15% of all the people in a village called Heinsberg in Germany, they were also positive without symptoms. Yeah. And only 0.37 people died. So, and even these people, they died with the corona and not because of the corona. Yeah. So I make, let me say, a summary of the whole story. The summary is following. I think that our governments, you know, they made from a small crisis we had, like influenza we had 2 years ago. In Germany, for example, in 2018, 25,000 people died on influenza virus at that time. Now we have 6,000 something official on Corona. And from these 6,000, maybe only 600 really died because of lung problems. All the other died of cancer and other problems. So, you know, I'm blaming and not blaming, you know. I'm blaming the governments because they made from a small crisis a total hysteria, a total crisis, because now they save the people, they save the countries, they save, I don't know. Now they are all heroes, you know. But now, what happens now, you know, I think most of the governments, they know now today, they know this was wrong what we did. We made a shutdown, we destroyed people, and not only that, we killed more people now with a shutdown than through the virus. Yeah. In Germany, we have more suicides. In Germany, we have think about, we have nearly 20,000 less cancer patients per month. This means people, they have let me say, a lump in the breast, a woman, they're not going in hospital anymore. People, they have heart problems, they're not going to a doctor anymore, and so on and so on. So it's for sure already that more people dying because of the shutdown in Germany. I'm not only talking from Germany, because of the shutdown than the virus. And you know what I'm not talking about are the people in Africa, in poor countries. They have no food anymore because countries like Vietnam or Thailand, India, China, you know, they stopped totally the exporting of rice or all the food things, and they have nothing. And the only thing what they offer now to them is vaccination, vaccination, and vaccination. But what they need is food, water, clean water, food, and clean water. This is what they need now. And nobody knows how many, but for sure millions of people and a lot of children will now die because of this shutdown. And I discussed with Klaus just the other day, what should the government do? Should they say, okay, all my lovely voters, we made a big mistake. They can't, they can't. If they do this, I think something like a civil war or something will start, you know. People, they will go to the war, they will go to the governments, they will, something really bad happens. So the government, I even understand this now, the governments can't say, oh, I'm sorry, we made such a big mistake with the shutdown and we killed more people and we just didn't understand that this virus is not that, and we were listening only to a few people. And who are these people? In Germany, only the Robert Koch Institute, like in England, Mr. Ferguson, and we were listening to the World Health Organization. But we forget totally that only 20% of the income of the World Health Organization are coming from governments. Yeah. Mainly America and then England and Germany, but between is already the Bill Gates Foundation. Between are the pharmaceutical companies. Between are all these other companies who are giving money to the World Health Organization. And so today the situation is that the World Health Organization gets 80% of their income from private people or organizations like Bill Gates and from pharmaceutical companies. So how can we listening to these people? Come on, this is like listening to Novartis when I'm ill, you know. Yeah. I gave all my trust to Novartis or to Eli Lilly or to Roche. This is impossible. And this is where we are now. And what I see now is that the most governing, they try to come out somehow, you know, to bring the shutdown more or less slowly or fast, you know, to open everything and to come back. But check, there is no comeback. I live here in Mallorca. You know what the unemployment rate at the moment is? 62%. 62%. Wow. The restaurants are allowed to open from today. They don't open. Why should they open? There are no tourists here. And another thing is, if you open a restaurant or a hotel, all the people who get now money from the government because they are unemployed, you have to employ them again and pay them 100%. But think about, Jack, if you are a hotel and let me say 50 people are working for you. If you open now your hotel, you must employ them all and pay 100% to 50 of the people. But you have only 10 or 20 tourists in your hotel.
Yeah.
So the rest of us, they are allowed now to open, but they're not opening.
No.
And the companies are destroyed, and so many people are destroyed. And who do we help now? We help the big companies. Another example, in Germany, we have, you know, we are proud and famous for our cars, okay? So we have Volkswagen, we have Porsche, we have Mercedes, and we have BMW. So Volkswagen made a profit around of 20 billion last year. BMW 12, and Daimler, which is Mercedes-Benz, around 16 billion, not million, billion. So, and now we're giving to these companies a lot of money. Explain this to me. I don't understand. Why are we doing this? Why are we supporting such rich companies? And there is another bad thing here, you know. When you ask the government, why are you doing this? Why are you making the shutdowns? They always saying, we want to save lives. We want to save lives, and we want to save lives. Okay. I think nobody is blaming something like this, but are they really always doing this? I give you an example. You know, I'm very familiar with cancer things.
Yeah.
In cancer, we have now a lot of so-called antibody therapies. And the costs of these therapies are 40,000, 80,000, 120,000 euro per, sometimes per month, per year, per something. But very, very expensive therapies where the pharmaceutical companies earning a lot. And around the world, millions of people, this is what the pharmaceutical companies are saying. All our therapies could help millions of cancer patients, but we charge you 100,000 a year, so most of the people will not get it because they can't pay for it.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem that the government is saying, oh, okay, you are not rich enough, so you are dying. You're not getting all these cancer therapies because they have patents and because we allow the pharmaceutical companies to sell it to high prices or not to sell. There is a medicine now for where one shot is over $1 million. There are for leukemia 2 therapies out now where one therapy is $360 and the other one is $380,000. Think about it. And you know what the pharmaceutical companies are now doing? They choose to whom are we giving this therapy. There is no government no government is coming and saying, hey, we have to save lives. We have to save lives. We have to give this good therapy to thousands of people and we can save life, 100,000 of people. No, they are not doing this, you know, because they're just saying, oh, we accept that the pharmaceutical companies, they have patent and they must earn billions. No, we could stop them and saying, hey, we could save millions of lives. And if we give this medicine to these people, but now in the Corona crisis, they always saying, oh, we have to save life, we have to save life. But before they didn't, and in the future, they will not do it.
Yeah. I mean, this is, to someone like myself, knowing you the way that I have over the years and Klaus, my own journey with my own health, and even just now with the COVID, it's kind of natural for me to go and look the other way. You know, I beg to differ, like wonderful brand. I'm going to naturally look the other way because of just a rush to follow old paradigms. But given that you've had these conversations with these learned people and you are exceptionally well networked, what do you think if the governments could hold their hand up and say, look, we've got this wrong? What do you think is the best way forward? Because one of the issues in this country, I don't know about Germany, obviously, but our Prime Minister, this is, I'm doing this on Monday afternoon, it'll go out on Wednesday, but yesterday at 7 o'clock in the evening, our Prime Minister came on television, told us all he was going to sort of relax things a little bit, change the slogan, kind of confused a lot of people, including myself. And they're in slackening, for want of a better word, some of the restrictions. There's been quite inevitably a big reaction of people saying, well, I'm not going to come out of my house. I'm not going to take the risk to go to that park and so on. And so you've got this built-in fear now. It's a massive fear that if I go out and I start circulating, I'm going to catch this. Not me, but for the average person. How do you think we can move forward? Is it like people like myself interviewing you, people see that, they spread it? Is it going to be from the bottom up, or do you think is there anyone got a plan or an idea that we can start to follow to bring some sense back to this?
It's a difficult question, Jack. That's a difficult question. I would say there are different ways. One way for sure, like in Germany, is already going more than at the courts. More than 1,000 people are at court and saying, "Hey, we want to have the proof now from the government that this what you have done was correct," because they just did it, but there is no proof. When you go into the data, you will find this is what Edward Snowden said. Edward Snowden said, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, he said, the problem is we have no data and maybe we will not get data. And he was 100% right. But now, in Germany, for example, there is a big company, they went bankrupt now. They're selling steaks, they have restaurants in Germany called Blockhaus. And the owner said, my company is bankrupt, but the last money I have, I want to have the proof from the government that this was correct. And I think they don't have it. So in Germany, for sure, a lot of things will happen at the court. This is one thing. The second thing is, like I said before, if Boris Johnson would say to you tomorrow, hey, I think we made a mistake here. No voters anymore for him, right? No. I don't know what would happen with the party, what would happen. But not only that, what would happen with our future if I tell you the truth, Jack, I'm not sure whether this would be good. Even I think from let me say, from a human point of view, this is what they should do. They should say, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. Right now, I know this only from countries like Japan, where politicians go to the TV and say, hey, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I never saw this in Europe. But anyway, I agree with you. Maybe they should do it. But once again, what would happen? What would happen, I think a civil war would start and another thing would start. Would you trust a politician anymore? Well, we're not trusting politicians anyway. But here you could see, like in Germany, 60-70% of the people are still thinking this is good what the government has done.
Yes,
they still think this, and Angela Merkel still has it came back, her reputation is now better than half a year ago.
Yeah.
So the voters, they next year, nothing will change, I think. But for me personally, I think it's also the crisis is a big chance. It is a chance to think about, how we are as human beings, how we are working together. This is, by the way, the reason why we choose this logo, that the colors are saying, it's a colorful life and we have colorful people, and the handshake is just meaning, hey, listening. We must talk to people with different opinions.
Yes.
And this, with especially in the mainstream media, is the biggest problem we have. I think this crisis, I don't know how in England, but what I know is nearly the same. In Germany, the main TV stations, it's like a propaganda TV station, This is what we normally saying, only in China happens this, or in some, let me say, not so nice countries, okay? No, in Germany it's the same. The TV station, they're telling you not the truth. They're telling you all the wrong numbers. They're not saying, hey, people died on or with Corona. No, nothing at all. And I think we should now use this crisis to think about all these things. Is that a world what we like to have, Is that a world what we like to live with, or in this world to live? And so this is this could be a very good thing. In Germany, I tell you, on the weekend, I'm very proud, in Stuttgart, we had more than 20,000 people on the street. in Munich, in Berlin, everywhere in Germany, every Saturday. Now, 100,000 of people going on the street. Of course, we are not allowed, but they're doing it. They say, come on, and they're not saying everything is bad. What they say, hey, we don't want to have that kind of propaganda anymore. We want that some of our good scientists in Germany are talking to the other scientists. Yeah. Once again, the people going on the street are not, radical people, are not saying that normal people, normal families, they're going on the street and they say, we don't want to have that kind of media, that kind of TV station, that kind of newspapers, and we want to have, real news. And this crisis showed us that we don't have this, but we need it. We need this in the future. And I think this is a good thing on this crisis. A lot of discussions about this, about how politics should be, and all these things, this will start in the future. And a lot of all the companies bankrupt now, or they just survive, they also will think about, can we trust anymore, I don't know, our Chinese partners? Can we trust the German partners? Can we trust the EU? Oh, you're out. Sorry, I forgot this. And so on and so on, So, but the people started now to think about who can we trust? What can we do? Maybe I should talk to my neighbor in a different way than I did last year, I think the whole crisis, if we come out as better human beings, then the crisis was okay. But it's now you and me, we have to do this now,
Yeah, no, wonderful contribution. Certainly one of my frustrations with watching, on television, the way that the media is handling the briefing sessions is that very few of the journalists are asking any sort of question that I would want to ask. They're asking questions that are relatively soft, and if they don't get the answer, they just hold, put their hands up and move on. If the next journalist coming on, they could pick up in the previous poor response and really take it more. They just asked the question they've obviously agreed with. It's quite pathetic. So we're not really getting the sort of information I would want, but nevertheless, it's quite encouraging. It's not been reported here, but it's quite encouraging that people are going on the streets in Germany. We're not hearing that here for obvious reasons. So that is encouraging. We are getting a slackening in England, not so much in Scotland or Northern Ireland or Wales, but living in the south of England, it's possible that people will take to the parks and take to the streets and start to express this. But given that it will have to be handled very, very carefully, because you're right, there could be mass breakouts of violence and all sorts of stuff as society breaks down. We don't want that. We need to keep some sort of collaboration. But nevertheless, one of the things that always impressed me about you is you've always been committed to following a kind of lifestyle that supports your own health and your own vibrancy. And you kind of walk your talk. You're not just traveling around the world speaking at conferences and then sneaking off to McDonald's. You're not doing that sort of thing. What are you doing, and what are you recommending your family does to maximize their ability to go out into the world, if we do get out there again, to maintain their, for want of a better term, their immune system? Are you not too concerned about the catching it thing because you reckon you're healthy enough anyway, or where's your head?
Well, I would say right now the two most important things is making a walk and eating the best thing, or eat less even, for some people. I think most people in this crisis, they will gain weight instead of losing weight, okay? Well, that's for me the two main things. And this is also in Germany so bad, Jack. Think about the people in the retirement houses, you call it, right?
Yes,
yes. In the retirement house, they are not allowed to go out for a walk. Think about it. It's like in prison. So and think about, you're 85 and somebody is telling you whether you are allowed to go out or not. And and also a lot of old people, what they don't understand? They don't understand that they have to die alone and they don't understand that nobody is allowed to visit them, and so on and so on. So, you know, the best thing is, of course, now to have some fun, to go out for a walk, and to have the best food. This is what normally stabilizes your immune system, right?
Yeah.
And this is also, nothing changed at that point, you know. This is still, but going out is, now it's coming back, you know, but still in Germany for the people in these houses, it's still not allowed, which is crazy, really, really crazy. Also, you know, with all the pupils, you know, all not allowed going in school, you know, this is another bad thing now for 8 weeks, you know, and so we have to change this today, absolutely today. And what I do in Germany, and what a lot of my friends are doing now, they just say, hey, we know this is the law, and we know we trust the government that the virus is so bad, but you know, why should I not go out for a walk alone on the beach or in the forest or with my wife?
Yeah.
I mean, I sleep at night with my wife in one bed, but during the day, I'm not allowed to go out for a walk together. You know, things like this is really, I don't know, I strange, stupid, I don't know what word I should use here, especially in English. So this is really, really strange. And I just say, hey, please be brave enough and go out. Go out and tell the police, hey, listening, I stay away 2 meters from everybody. I'm not a risk for anybody. Yeah. So, but how can you stop me for going out for a walk? Yeah. How can you stop me going in a shop for the best, buying food or things like this? You know, I think we should be a little bit more brave now, and we should show the government, hey, okay, we trust you, and the virus is dangerous, but hey, that you stop everything what is good for me, this can't be, you know. And we just should go out, you know. And I only say, go out for demonstrating, go on the street, and not spitting on somebody else. No, go on the street, 2 meters to the next, thousands of people, and they're just saying, no, we are not happy with that, you know. We're not happy with these propaganda TV things. We're not happy what you tell us, and especially we're not happy with the shutdown. And I tell you, Jack, the virus is gone now. It's May, it's warm weather. There is one professor, his name is Isaac Ben Israel from the University of Tel Aviv. He did in, I can't remember, 35 or 25 countries, you know. He was showing, you know, what happens with the virus. And it was always the same in all the countries. After 40 days, this was the highest part. And after 70 days, you know, the virus was gone. This is exactly what happened in 23 countries where he did the research. And you know, it was not important whether this country was in Sweden, was in Italy, France, or Spain, where they had terrible shutdowns, you know, was in America, was in Israel, was in Germany. It doesn't, or even in Belarusia, you know, where they did nothing there, you know, this is or in like Turkmenistan, where they did nothing, or like in Tanzania, where they did nothing, you know. Did more people die? No, not at all. So Professor Ben Israel, he showed exactly, you know, whatever the governments did, it was always the same story. After 40 days, it was the highest point. After 70 days, the virus was gone. So it is, by the way, it is the same like with each influenza every year. After, normally it's between 35 and 45 days where you have the peak. And then normally it's between 60 and 80 days where it's gone. Okay. And this was exactly the same with the COVID-19. Exactly the same in each country, exactly the same.
So you genuinely believe that it's burnt itself out, or it's burning itself out? Do you think that's just following a natural pattern of a virus?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. This is a natural thing. And I even, you know, when you look to this, the testing they did in North Italy, you know, in St. Ulrich, you know, where 49% they were positive tested. You know, this is not, the test is not just showing what I always saying, you know, for COVID-19. 49% of the people were positive, but they even were not ill, or most of them, maybe 5% or so were ill, but the rest were not ill at all, had no symptoms at all, You know what this is showing? This is showing like in influenza. This is showing that the virus is not here since, I don't know, January or October last year. No, this virus, the COVID-19, is maybe for 10, 20 years already here. This is nothing special. This is nothing dramatic. This is nothing, absolutely. If it would be, then it would be impossible that in a village like St. Ulrich, 49% of the people were positive tested. It's impossible if this is a new virus. This can't be a new virus. And once more, I'm not blaming the governments at all. No. I'm not blaming and saying, hey, you did the worst job at all. Well, they did the worst job at all, but they did not make it because they wanted to do something bad against you and me and against our economy and all these things. No, I'm not thinking that Angela Merkel or Boris Johnson are bad people and they wanted to destroy our economy. For sure not. No, they didn't. They just made terrible, terrible, terrible mistakes, And now we have to stop this, and we have to learn for the future, because now it's COVID-19, COVID-20 and COVID-21 is in front of the door. They will come, if it's cold in December, January, they will be back. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, I will be back. No, it is like it is, we have to make the best now, we just have to go through this now, and I can understand what the governments are doing, and I'm not blaming them in a way that they wanted to do this all because they didn't like it as well, but they just made a terrible mistake, that's all.
And I guess someone watching this on Wednesday night will want me to ask you this question. I'm pretty sure they will. Yeah. Or they would want to ask the question. Presumably, given the genuine fears of the politicians or the pattern that emerged, certainly in this country, there's the fear that our health service would be overrun, and that this health service just couldn't cope. We've built lots of new hospitals, like you say, in a week, like the Germans. Like the Chinese. 4,000 bed hospital in London, just like in a few weeks, and same in Glasgow and everywhere. And of course, we don't need them. We're not using them. They're lying empty. But there was a genuine fear that the health service would become overrun. Do you think in due course it wouldn't have been overrun because the same people had been dying anyway with a flu or whatever?
Yeah. I understand the question. Well, for example, let's say Italy, because in Italy in the beginning it was, when you looked on TV, so many people died, So, yeah. But in Italy, a lot of sad stories happened. First of all, the treatment was wrong. We know that today, But once again, don't misunderstand me. I'm not blaming the Italian doctors. They did the best what they could do at that time. But they just made mistakes. We know that today, and that happened, Okay, we can't go back. So another thing, what nobody is discussing is, in Germany, every year, around 2,400 people are dying because, they go to a hospital, they get an infection, mainly bacteria, but also a virus, and they dying, Yeah. In Italy, they have 60 million people living. In Germany, 80 million. In Germany, we have 2,400 people dying on these lung problems every year in hospital. You know how many in Italy? 22,000. Wow. Nearly 10 times more than in Germany. Even they have less people in Italy. So what is this showing, This is showing that the whole health system, the hospitals, they have serious problems in Italy. Serious problems. How is it possible that 10 times more people are dying on lung problems in Italy in a hospital than in Germany? And the next is, by the way, France. They have also, I think, 12,000 or something, also quite more than in Germany. In England, unfortunately, I don't know the cases at the moment. So anyway, But I just wanted to show you. It was very bad what happened in Italy. And of course, a lot of people died there because of the whole situation. And yes, I agree. The idea, let me say, to make or to say that way, we don't make operations now for a knee or for a kidney operation or this or that, and we want to keep the bed free for the people who will come now. This was, I'm not blaming this. This was a good idea, you know, and this was maybe even correct, but it was not correct at the end because they calculated with totally wrong numbers. And why did they calculate the totally wrong numbers? Because the institutions like the Robert Koch Institute in Germany, they were not able, and the same was in Italy. Think about, now we have the numbers in Italy. 96% of the people, they had 1 or 2 or 3 other illnesses who died on Corona. 96%, Jack.
Yeah.
So you can't say that these people died on Corona. No, they didn't. And then another thing happened, you know, there was this hysteria. There was this everybody went to hospital and there was just, they created a crisis, which was not there because of the virus. It was there because of the hysteria of the politicians. Yeah. And this is what happened in Italy. Very, very bad. And now a few weeks later, we have all the numbers from Italy. And now we know it, you know. But once again, I'm not blaming them. They made just what they were thinking, this is the best. But we also have to look on it and say, hey, listening, you made all these mistakes. And we have to do this check, because if we don't look to all these mistakes, what will happen in 2 years or in 3 years with the next crisis? Yeah. We have to make now, you know, groups of people at the governments who are saying, okay, we have to go through the whole process, what happened in the last 3, 4, 5 months. And next time we have to make it better. Next time we know how we have to calculate. Next time we know the first call is to the pathologists, you know, next time and so on. I could make a list with 20, 30 points in 1 hour, you know. I'm sure the government can make a list with 1,000 points with all the mistakes they made. They made it, and I think this is the aim now for the future. Our goal now is, you know, let's have a look what was wrong, and not in a way that, hey, you made something wrong and you are responsible that people died. No, come on. All these good doctors who made all these mistakes, they didn't make it because they wanted to kill people, you know, they wanted to help them. They just made mistakes. And once again, I said it before, you know, also even the politicians, even I think politicians should not make that kind of decisions, but this is another story, okay? So, but even the politicians, I think, they wanted to make it correct. Of course, they loved it now to be the hero on TV, and we are the heroes to save the world. Of course, they loved this. I could see this each time when I see Boris Johnson or Angela Merkel. You can see it in the face. They love this part of being a hero now. But we have to go in details and say, okay, what was wrong? What can we make better? I think this is a job for the future now.
Yeah, I think everyone hopefully can see that themselves. I mean, it's common sense to me. I totally agree with you. And none of it surprises me. And I agree with you, there's not a conspiracy. It's just human behavior following patterns. And however, the inevitably, when we do consistently hear all around the world that the people who are dying had second or third or fourth underlying issues, the obvious thing for each of us, whether or not the politicians and whether or not the scientists and whether or not the pharmaceutical companies and whether or not the medical profession can all get their act together and put their hand up and say, look, we're way down the wrong road. Each of us individually, it seems to me, can take personal responsibility from wherever you're coming from to do your own homework and to find out how to maximize your own ability to handle Corona or COVID-20 in 21 and 22. Because as you say, they're on their way, they're coming back. And if people are dying and the underlying reasons begin to become obvious, and some of it is pointing in particular directions, then we really need to say, you know, we need to stop eating that type of food, and we need to start eating, as you already said, good quality food, whole food, and get rid of the stuff that seems to be diminishing our well-being. But we've had lots of debate about that on these before now, which is good. Lothar, is there anything, you know, I think people would want me asking you, because a lot of people who know over the years I've been promoting you guys, particularly around cancer, obviously, and I've paid big prices sometimes standing up in audiences, and people would walk out and get angry with me and all that, and never come back and stuff. But I mean, where are you now with cancer and your journey there? Obviously, 3 centres. You know, speaking to Klaus just the other day, that it's going from strength to strength, which is fantastic. You know myself. I've enjoyed going there many times. I'm lucky I don't have cancer, but I've gone there for my own purposes. Any thoughts or anything that you think might just gather people's attention around the cancer thing? Because if it's still 1/3 of us are going to go that way, there's an opportunity here to maybe share some insights. That would be helpful.
Yeah. Well, you know, I had a lot of discussions with Klaus about all these things about this crisis in the last weeks. And, you know, we both agreed with one thing, you know, for, let me say, how you say in English, you know, the alternative medicine or the complementary medicine, the whole crisis is helping us. You know why? People in the beginning, let me say 2 months ago, everybody was believing the government. Everybody was believing the virologists. Everybody was believing that we have a real big crisis, and that was it, you know. But now 2 months later, you know, a lot of people. I get, believe it or not, check 600-800 emails a day, you know, 600-800 every day, where people asking me this or that or saying this or that. I even can't answer all them. And, you know, and these are not the let me say, the normal esoteric people, the normal alternative people. No, these mainly of them, they are, let me say, the normal people who are not so deep in the field of alternative medicine or alternative way of thinking, you know. No, they just start now to think about, hey, if all this, what they always tell us about the virus and the dangerous, and it was killing millions of people and nothing happened, if this is not so true, okay, so how is it with cancer? How is it in oncology? Is it also maybe not so true that chemotherapy is always the best and so on? So make a long story short, I think for a lot of people, what will happen in the future, you know, we will have more two groups of people. We will have the conventional people. You know, a lot of people will become more conventional. But you know what also will happen? A lot of more people will become non-conventional, alternative, more esoteric. I don't know how you want to call it, you know. So, and this is a good thing. I think that more and more people, through this crisis, they started to think about governments. They started to, but also about environment, you know, about our nature, about our food. Yeah. People are starting thinking about all. They see, for example, like I saw a report yesterday, I read a report yesterday about the water quality around Mallorca. You know, it was never so good than now, because you know, no boats out, no, fantastic. Or North Italy, a lot of people don't know. North Italy, the environment is not that nice, you know. They have a lot of pollution. They have a lot of poisons in the nature. Now, when you see some pictures, you know, from the space, you know, from North Italy, it's gone. Yeah. You know, the pollution is gone within 2 months. Yeah. So nature, you know, fight it back, and it's better now. And people are seeing these reports, and now people, I'm sure, they think about CO2, they think about better food, they think about what I do also is, you know, how is our connection to animals, for example, you know? Do we have to eat so many animals? And when we eat them, how do we treat them before we eat them? And so on, you know? So I think through this crisis, a lot of people are thinking more about life. What is good? What is not so good? And so is it, back to your question, and so is it in oncology. We have more people who are asking what we are doing, why we are doing it. I'm selling a lot of my books at the moment. More and more people are thinking about their life. That's all. And this is really the good thing with this crisis, you know, that more and more people are going, even the conventional people will more have people, but in the future, I'm sure a lot of people, they will more listening to you and will more listening to me. All the people who said you are a crazy Scottish guy, you know, and the people said, oh, this stupid German esoteric oncologist there, you know. No, people will think about more, maybe they are not that bad, okay? And this is a beginning. It's a small beginning, but I'm 100% sure that this will become a big movement. This is, for example, why we also made this new organization, you know, where we just saying, you know, I beg to differ. That's all, you know. I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm just saying, let's sit together on the same table and let's discuss. You're not my enemy anymore. You're my friend. And it's allowed that you have a different opinion, and I still can talk to you. And I'm sure that this will happen. So at the end, I only can speak for myself or for our center and for, let me say, more the alternative world. We will come out as a big winner out of this crisis, for sure.
Fantastic. I'm sure everyone's quite excited about that, really. People who certainly follow me, they know I'm not going to be doing the Mr. Ordinary stuff. I've always been on the edge. And a part of that is because I gained confidence very early on through yourself, and your authority in what you speak, where you speak from. Maybe to get towards the end of it, maybe go right back to the beginning a wee bit about Joanna Budvig. She's such an inspirational figure to me through the stories you guys have shared with me. Is there anything you just might share a wee bit more about Joanna Budvig in terms of the struggles she had and where she ended up? Because clearly it was long before social media, long before the internet, and yet someone like yourself, you, by no coincidence, but you find your way there, you open your mind to the concepts and off you go on a journey. Anything you can tell us about Joanna Budvig as a kind of closing remarks, and then we'll close down? Well,
you know, Joanna Budvig, you know, today, let me say when it's 2020, if it would be 2020, you know, you would say she's an esoteric, you would say she fighting for natural life, she's fighting for vegetarian lifestyle, she's fighting for natural food at all, she's fighting for environment, against pollution, she's fighting for nature. This is what she was, you know. But going back 50, 60 years, in the middle of the, let me say, world of industry, in the 60s, 70s, 80s in Europe, you know, it was a different world. It was a different world. So Joanna Budvig was really a person, you know, she was 20, 30, 50 years ahead, I would say. And maybe this was one of her biggest problems. And no, she did that at that time already, you know, vegetarian, think about, or vegan, think about vegan. I think I personally heard about vegan people 10 years ago. I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years ago. Before I never knew one, you know. So this is a new thing, you know.
You're frozen, unfortunately.
And, this morning, you know that iPhone, cell phones is only, I don't know, 20, 13 years ago. It's not that long, you know. And the same is, or vegetarians, you know, if 30, 40 years ago, if you was a vegetarian, people would say, are you crazy, you know? Or if you say, oh, I don't drink milk or something like this, and people would say, are you crazy? This is the best, or all these things, or margarine. It's so now, but now it's a different world, you know. It's a different world. We can all the things Joanna Budvig was always saying, you know. Now we can live it and we can be proud of it, and we can, you know, push people also in this, let me say, this lifestyle, you know. That we live with the nature, that we go to bed when it's dark, that we have a nice environment about us, that we eat only organic food, you know. Think about organic food. Come on, organic food was always organic food I don't know, until maybe the 40s, 50s, 60s, and then all the companies gave all this poison. Or think about how crazy is it today that when you go in a store, you know, and you look for organic food, they have to make a stamp on the food that it is organic. Shouldn't it be the other way, Jack? You know, the companies who do all the poisons in the food, they must do a stamp on the food and saying, hey, we do poison in. It doesn't matter, is it chocolate or is it the food or is it vegetables? It doesn't matter. They should get a stamp, and not the good people who have not poison in the food. They must do a stamp on it. Isn't that a strange world where we're living now? You know, and I really hope that this crisis, you know, starts now to think about all these things, you know, to think about what Dr. Budwig already said in the 50s, 60s, you know, that we have to live a nature lifestyle, the best food in a vegetarian way, in all these things, you know. Yeah. And then we also would have, you know, the same good results in the cancer therapy, and the same good results, let me say, in the community around us, you know. But once again, I'm really sure that will happen. I really trust now the dynamic. I only can speak for Germany and for so many friends, and what I personally see at the moment. This movement started already, and nobody will stop this. I'm sure that we talk in 1 year again about this, Jack, and you will see this movement will become really big all over the world, because it's not only in Germany or UK. I have friends in India, I have friends in the Philippines, in America. Everywhere it started now. Everywhere it started now. And it's not only because the people are frustrated and the people are more aggressive. Of course, they are frustrated and aggressive, but that's not the only reason. The main reason is people start more about thinking. And not only the whole day Netflix and other things, you know. So they started now reading books. They started now thinking about the propaganda TVs and all these things. And this is so good, so good. So at the end, I think one day we will be happy that we had this crisis.
Absolutely. It's the only way to look at it, being positive. Well, listen, Lothar, fantastic. Thanks for giving us your time. I'm sure when people get this on Wednesday, they're going to just love it. You've certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons in terms of being, as usual, controversial, which is why I love you. Look, enjoy the rest of the summer in Mallorca with the clear.
We don't know when we can leave it, you know. Right now I can't leave, because when I leave now, I'm not allowed to come back, you know.
Yes. Well, one day I think I get back to Mallorca. It's one of my favorite places. But all the best, Lothar. Thank you very much.
All the best to you on the island, from one island to another island, okay? Ciao, Jack. Ciao.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.